By the early 20th century, oil fields throughout the United States were flourishing. Oilman Jodan Trigg's family was a part of this adventurous breed in those early days.
My father, when he got started, that was back in 1919, that's when they used trains to move your equipment, or they had horses and mules, I guess, to move your rigs. And my uncle, when he first got started, he was a rig builder. When they build these wooden rigs you used to see, and then he came and started working for Trigg Drilling, became our drilling superintendent. This one story my father told about people would go out where you're going to move your rig in, and they'd make a lot of water and get it all muddy and such because they could use their cats to pull you in. And it was a pretty rough time too. There were a lot of rough people, and kind of like the old frontier days. If you go out to Perryton, Texas, about 10 miles south, there's a plaque there, and the Trigg Drilling Company got honored for drilling the first steam rig in Texas Panhandle.
By the end of World War II, the United States dominated oil production. By the 1950s, large American oil companies were concentrating vast resources in the Middle East, Russia, and Persian Gulf. Americans were forming a passion for their automobiles, and the shiny new big gas-guzzling machines were becoming highly prized. Electricity, refrigeration, and air conditioning, now available nationwide, added to the need for more fuel. Domestically, long-established companies and new companies continued to explore and drill for this rich commodity. After graduation from college, followed by a stint in the military, in 1953, Jodan Trigg joined the family drilling business.
As I remember, from about 1954, 55 to 1970, it was pretty poor business owning drilling rigs. And my job was going around talking to the different companies trying to get drilling contracts. And gosh, a lot of times I'd sit on a bench for 2 or 3 hours waiting to see the engineer that gave the drilling contracts, and he might say, come back tomorrow, or he'd see me for a few minutes. And it was tough. We would drill about 20-some wells a year for other people, and we'd lose money on probably 15 of them. So it was mainly trying to keep your drilling rig crews together and your tool pushers and such. You take a contract you wouldn't make any money on, just to keep your personnel so you wouldn't lose.
In 1951, Carl Swan graduated from the University of New Mexico with a BS degree in physical education. While in school, he had worked as a roughneck on oil rigs. He decided to pursue a job in the oil industry.
My degree is PE, physical education, and I applied for a job. I was interviewed in Tulsa, and this guy that worked for Magabar he's playing golf on Saturday morning. He took a quick interview and put down my degree, PE, and so I go to work for them, and they send you to a school. You kind of learn your cookbook, chemistry you have, or be a mud engineer. But all that time they thought I was a petroleum engineer.
Carl was a quick learner and would advance rapidly through the company. In 1964, Carl decided to form Basin Drilling Company and bought his first rig.
Clint Rogers was president of City Service Gas Company at that time, and they were going to put in a gas storage field up west of Blackwell. And a guy I went to high school with, his name was Bob Gott, worked for them. And so I bought that rig. I was going to do the all-day work, do the work on those old wells and drill some new wells. And the landowners got feisty, and they got the Corporation Commission. They shut that down, so there I had a damn rig and no place to go. And I saw A.J. Magnet. He gave me a contract to drill the first well. So I told him, hell, will you pay me quick? I don't have any money. He says, you bring the log in, and you got the well logged, I'll give you a check. And he damn sure did it. That's how I got started business. And then while I was drilling that well, I got a contract to drill a well for Kiowani. I'd worked for them some as just laborer. and knew some people, so I got kicked off, and then I got tied in with Mr. E.G. Rodman, which was a real godsend. He was a hell of a partner.
Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Carl formed partnerships with bankers, drillers, ranchers, any adventurous entrepreneur willing to take a chance on striking it big. Over his career, Carl Swan owned and operated several successful drilling companies. Carl would become friends and associates with actors like John Wayne and politicians such as Ronald Reagan, once loaning his airplane to the actor-turned-politician during Reagan's bid for governor of California.
I had a company then called Swan Aviation. We had 2 or 3 planes in it, so I loaned him a plane to do some recruiting in, and that's how I got to know him.
In the 1970s, world events would forever alter the future of the oil industry. On October 6, 1973, the Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur, Egyptian forces attacked Israel from across the Suez Canal. Syrian troops flooded the Golan Heights in a surprise offensive. After early losses, Israel, with U.S. help, fought back, reversing Arab gains, and a ceasefire was called in November. OPEC retaliated against U.S. support. On October 17, 1973, OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, which included Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and Venezuela, established an oil embargo which lasted about 6 months, in which they reduced oil production by 25%, 5% per month, exercising their collective strength against the Western world, almost bringing the West to a halt. Prices tripled to $29.43 a barrel, which resulted in oil-dependent nations in recession. Frustrated Americans soon found themselves waiting in long lines to purchase rationed amounts of gasoline. In 1973 and again in 1979, drivers frequently faced around-the-block lines when they tried to fill up. A national speed limit of 55 miles per hour was adopted in order to conserve gas, and daylight saving time was introduced year-round at the beginning of 1974 to save energy. Carl Swan, Jodan Rigg, and oil men like them sought out new resources.
We'd always just been in the drilling business, so about 1970, 71, we decided to get in the exploration business. And as you remember, about 1973 or 74, the economy really grew, and the oil boom was on, so it was a very interesting time. We'd hired a geologist and had a landman, and really started doing exploration work back that time.
In 1977, innovator Carl Swan founded Swan Energy for the purpose of exploring, acquiring, and developing domestic energy sources, including coal as well as oil. His friend John Wayne's daughter gave him hope that they might be able to develop oil from the coal.
She had some German scientists, and they're working on liquefaction of coal. And we had a property in Utah. It was a coal property, but that was going to be underground mining. And so we took that was what was Swan Energy, was this company that had that coal. And we took a pickup load of that coal to the John Wayne Airport in California, and they checked it, and it didn't check out very good for liquefaction.
Over the next 2 decades, Carl Swan, Jodan Rigg, and oil men like them continued to make their mark in the industry. While world events such as wars and political upheaval in the Middle East, along with the development of third world nations, have resulted in the continued growing demand for oil and gas.